By the end of this video, you'll be able to implement 4 of the most effective experiments with your Scrum team. I first need to mention that we won't be talking about what are experiments, why use them, the importance of experiments. We don't have time for that. If you want more details, watch this video where I did a full breakdown of experiments in an Agile environment. But still, it's really important that you understand the importance of experiments. Why use experiments? The shortest answer to this question is simply to validate our assumptions. All organizations make assumptions. We all make assumptions, but only a few validate their assumptions. When we are building a feature for a product, maybe a mobile application, we are building a feature. We are assuming here that this feature will be used by customers. Customers will love using this feature. It's an assumption. And an experiment is used to validate this assumption. Most organizations don't even bother. Some don't even bother building something that the customer will use. Others, they build something that they believe the customer will use, but they don't validate it. Just assume that the customer is using it once the feature is released. That's why experiments are so important. That's one example of where experiments can be used. Simple example, but experiments can be used in any situations when using the Scrum framework, when using agility, writing user stories, during sprint retrospectives, during daily stand-ups, daily scrums, even in your personal life. It is very important that when you are experimenting with something, try to keep the experiment in total isolation so that you can really measure, truly measure the impact of this experiment. And also, all the experiments that we'll discuss in this video might not work for you, depending on the experience and the agile maturity of the team. Experiment number 1, stop estimating the work. The no estimation movement is very popular in the agile community, and as it's in the name, you stop estimating. Simply, in a nutshell, they believe that estimation is a waste. Don't get me wrong, estimation is really important. Having these crucial conversations, having a shared understanding of the work, of what needs to be done, clarity, transparency, extremely important. But they have a point. What do you do with the estimation afterwards? It's simply a guess, a prediction. The conversation is good, the common understanding is good, clarity is good. But then you can take the estimation and just throw it away. You can't set a deadline and tell the team to meet this deadline based on an estimation. That doesn't work. We talked about that several times in my videos. The crucial conversation, extremely important, but then just throw the estimation away. So they have a point, and it's very simple to implement, but you still need a certain level of experience and maturity. If your team is consistently delivering an amount of work, or they are very consistent in terms of velocity, you're a stable team. Try the no estimation. Why do you need to estimate? Every single sprint, you're doing 100 story points in terms of velocity. Every single sprint. Why are you even estimating? Try removing, experiment with it. Remove the estimation. Don't get me wrong, you still have to do backlog refinement. Have these crucial conversations, this common understanding of a work. You still need to do that, but the estimation part of it, just remove it. The planning poker, stop doing it. Or if you do it, throw the estimation away. No longer use velocity. I know some teams that even use throughput instead of story points to measure the velocity. They use throughput, basically the number of user stories or work being done every single sprint. And you'll realize that if your team is consistent, you can complete 8 pieces of work this sprint. There's a high chance that you will also complete around 8 pieces of work in the next sprint. Try it out. 2 experiments that you can try right now with your Scrum teams. Experiment number 2, come prepared to backlog refinement sessions. If you had to optimize one thing in your backlog refinement, do this. Most backlog refinements, people are unprepared. Developers come unprepared. The only person who has read the user stories is the person who wrote the user stories. Developers are reading the user stories in the session. How can you challenge this user story? How can you ask powerful questions? Have this common shared understanding of a work when you just have 1 minute to reflect on that after it's been read in the session. Now, it shouldn't work like that. Try an experiment. The assumption of this experiment is that the refinement process will be faster if you do that. People will be asking more powerful questions, challenging these user stories more. The estimation will be more precise, and the value being delivered will be better because we are simply building better user stories. All these assumptions will be true if you simply tell people to come prepared. It's an experiment that I've tried multiple times with many teams. It always works. Circulate the user stories at least 2 days, 48 hours prior. Tell people to come prepared. Read all the user stories. Write down their questions. Come prepared. It's a game changer. Try it. Experiment number 3, crafting a team agreement with a team. It's quite common, this team agreement concept. I made this video here detailing it simply. In a nutshell, you set some ground rules. Remember the goal. The goal is to build an effective team, an efficient team, a team that can work together, a team that will push you, motivate you, and make you want to go to work every single day. And to do that, as we are dealing with humans, complex people with emotions, why not set some ground rules that we need to follow? Like, people should be on time to meetings. If you're not on time, you put $1 in a jar somewhere. Simple ground rules that build a sort of structure that will guarantee that in the long run, we will be an effective team. That's a good team agreement. And many people do that. But the mistake is writing it. They're very good in writing the team agreement, but they don't use it. No one knows where it's stored. No one ever looks at it. No one ever improves it. No one is reflecting on this team agreement. Are we using it? Are we inspecting the team agreement? Are we adapting the team agreement based on our inspection? We're not doing it. Most teams I've worked with, they don't do that. Crafting the team agreement, they are really good at building that. It's a fun session. Everyone is crafting it together, but we never use it. That's the experiment that you need to try. Ensure that you craft it, inspect it every single sprint. Is it still relevant? Are we using it? Does it need to be adapted every single sprint? Try this experiment for at least 3 sprints and you'll be amazed by the results. Because you will be following these ground rules, which in the long run should make your team very effective. Experiment number 4, adding a work in progress limit. We talked about that several times on this channel, but it's an experiment that you can try. Adding a work in progress limit forces you to focus. Not only you, forces the team to focus. We all know how bad multitasking is. We all know that multitasking is bad, but it's not easy to focus. Can you really focus? Or are you checking your mobile phone? Are you talking to your colleague? Surfing the web when you're supposed to be coding? Working. It's hard to focus. We can't even focus. Now imagine a whole team focusing on a single goal. Hard thing to do. That's why you need a work in progress limit. The goal here is to stop starting and start completing. As long as we are not completing, nothing new is started. That's a work in progress limit. If you're using a Scrum board or a Kanban board, it's very simple to, should be very simple to implement using the software that you're using to manage this. If you're using Jira, you can do that in 2 clicks. The first experiment I recommend trying is having a work in progress limit for the whole team. Remember, the team is self-organized, self-managed. We have a sprint goal every single sprint, and we should be collaborating and working together to achieve the sprint goal. What if we can't work on more than 3 items or even 2 items? 2 items. Maybe there's 3 developers in the team, so they are helping each other. Maybe pair programming. If an item is stuck, there's an impediment. Everyone is stopping what they are doing to resolve this impediment instead of telling the Scrum Master to resolve it alone or escalating it to a manager somewhere. No, everyone is collaborating to get things done because that's what's important. Not work in progress. No, done. Done can be released. Work in progress can be released. Try it. It will be truly revealing. You'll learn a lot on the dynamics of a team when you restrict the work in progress limit for the whole team to something very minimum. When you force people to work together, you'll learn a lot about the team. Another experiment that you can try is having a work in progress limit per person or per status or column on your Kanban board. Maybe work in progress of 5 in progress. If you do code reviews, maybe 3 code reviews. So a work in progress limit can be more than 3 things in this code review column. You can try the experiment for each person. A person can't work on more than 2 items. Okay, 2 items. One item is blocked, we focus on something else. Maybe blocked because of dependencies or something that we don't have any control on. Okay, let's leave it open. Only 2 items. You can't work on more than 2 items. If the 2 items are blocked, you can't pick something new. You go help someone else. Or you get your 2 items fixed. That should be your main focus. I don't care how you do it. You get it fixed. That's the beauty of work in progress limit. And again, the assumption here is that we get more things done. Less work in progress, get more things done, which has an assumption also of increasing the chance that we meet the sprint goal and build every single sprint the shippable increment of a product. This is assumptions. Experiment with this. Which brings me to my next point. If you want more tips, insights on Agile, Scrum, personal growth, click on the video that stands out the most on the screen right now, and I'll see you in a few seconds.